Live.
Let's see what we got for participants. Alrighty. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals meetings, remote public special meeting of April 15th, 2021. Consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. For the record, the meeting ID is 856-7544-6831. I recognize in attendance myself, Joe Parisi, James Gelati, Michael Nyman, Peter Canavo, and Adria Pratt. 5 members, meaning we have a quorum. So I declare the meeting in effect. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes of March 25th, 2021, which everybody should have received. Are there any corrections or omissions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. You're muted, Michael.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, March 25th. Is that right, Joe?
Yes.
As written.
I second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Roll call vote.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. The minutes have been approved. First order of business is we had received a request for a continuance on the petition of Phyllis A. Sudby Estate, 43 Farrington Avenue. Attorney Ellison, that's still in effect?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is.
Okay,
They are
so
still,
we'll need a motion to continue that hearing to 4/29 is going to work?
I don't have that in front of me, Joe.
Adria, can you make a motion for that one?
Yeah, are we okay with the April 29th date?
I believe so. Attorney Ellison, is that okay?
yes, that should work for us, Mr. Chairman.
Great. So I would make a motion to continue the petition of Phyllis A. Sudby Estate seeking a variance for front yard setback. Yes, that's it, at 43 Farrington Avenue, to be continued to April 29th.
Second.
Made and seconded, roll call.
Mr. Canavo, I didn't get him. Mr. Canavo? Not hearing you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you now.
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Now,
About me, Joe.
Michael, yes?
Yes.
Did you? Okay, I'm sorry, Michael. Mr. Nyman,
I noticed on this, on my agenda, we had continued the Mount Vernon, 6 Mount Vernon Street to tonight also.
yes.
Do we know is, let's see if she's here. Allison, do you see if the applicant was here? Miss Mackey?
I do not see her. Attorney Nestor is raising his hand, but I do not see her.
I don't think he's involved in this one. You can ask him. bring him in and we'll see if he's responding to this. Attorney Nestor,
Yes, sir.
were you weighing in on Mount Vernon?
No, I'm on 8 Riggs Point Road.
Okay, we'll get to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so it was Kimberly Mackey and John Rogers were the petitioner on the appeal.
And they usually sign in under John Rogers. That's who they use his email, and I don't see that at all.
I don't see them either. We will. No, I don't see them. So I guess we're going to push that ahead, I guess. I think it's fixed. And to be honest with you, I've been out and visited in the beginning, and I visited again recently, and it does seem like they've made a pretty good effort. I don't know how. I mean, I tried Google. I recorded everything, and I don't know how you could prove that what is there now is not okay. I mean, I felt pretty confident of that, but I wanted her to be here. So I'm just going to push that aside in case she shows up later. We won't continue it yet.
Okay.
So our first hearing of the night is the petition of Felicia Mohan and Patricia Shimataro seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, a special permit 5.24 accessory in-law apartment to allow construction of an attached addition with living space to convert to accessory in-law apartment at 10 Harriet Road. Attorney Ellison, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 62 Middle Street, Gloucester. If I may share my screen.
Yes, please.
The owner of the property at 10 Harriet Road is Felicia Mohan and her mother, Patricia Shimataro. Mrs. Shimataro holds a life estate. The applicants are Barry and Felicia Mohan, and they are on the call tonight along with Mrs. Shimataro. The architect is Jason Gove, and he is on the call, and the engineer, John Judd of Gateway Consulting, is also on the call. The relief that is being requested is for a special permit to expand or alter a non-conforming structure under 1.9 and 2.4.3, and a special permit for an accessory in-law apartment. The Mohans are seeking to add an addition, which will include a remodeled kitchen and living spaces in the main house, as well as a special permit for a one-bedroom accessory in-law apartment. The size of the apartment is based on the gross floor area of the existing house and not the proposed house. It is in line with the definition in the ordinance, and it does not refer to livable area, which is a determination by the assessors, but not the standard under the ordinance. They are also seeking to construct an above-ground pool with decking in the rear of the property. There has been a slight change to the plan. The stair and the deck next to the pool were removed. It has always been the Mohans' intention to comply with the lot coverage requirements. And when they were reviewing the lot coverage calculations, it was determined that the zoning table had not been updated to reflect certain revisions of the deck and the pool area. So the engineer and the architect reviewed the plans, determined that it was necessary to remove the stairway as well as the decking over to the left in order to comply with lot coverage, and that's been done. Mrs. Shimataro currently lives in the house. She's lived there since 1967, over 50 years. It was one of the first residences that was built in this neighborhood. She's seen many changes to the neighborhood, including the building of the property at number 12 Harriet, which is behind her house. She cannot physically continue to live in this house unless it is remodeled to allow her to have a space with outstairs. She also cannot financially afford to live in the house without her children moving in to help with the cost and the upkeep. Felicia Mohan and her husband Barry now live at 6 Harriet Road. They've lived there since 2001, approximately 20 years. They want to move into the house with Felicia's mother to care for her as she ages and to help with the expenses. They will sell number 6 when they move in and give her mother her own space in a ground floor in-law apartment. And the current layout of 6 Harriet Road would not allow that to happen, nor does the current layout of 10 Harriet Road allow that to happen. You need to expand the main house to fit their family, which includes themselves and 2 adult children. And even though they do not live there, they live out of state. And so when they come to visit, they stay overnight. So there needs to be room for all of them. The intent of the addition is to give them a building that is going to suit their purposes for years to come. The addition will be completely conforming except for an existing nonconformity of the front yard. Everything else conforms to the setbacks of the current zoning district. The pool is also conforming. It's an accessory structure. It's not attached to the house, and therefore only a special permit is required. The property is in the R20 zone, and it requires 20,000 square feet. It has 11,943 square feet, and that's been certified by the engineer on a stamped plan. There has been some discussion in the abutters letters that the assessor's records are different. And I would suggest to you that those are not relevant since we do have a stamped plan by an engineer. The required side yard setbacks are 20 feet, and those will be met. They're currently compliant and will remain compliant. At the Concom, the abutter and in letters to this board mentioned that the driveway encroached onto 12 Harriet Road. There was a survey done by the abutter and that encroachment does not exist. There was also a mention that the driveway has been enlarged and moved closer to the wetlands. And in fact, that's not true. This is a picture from approximately 30 years ago. It shows the driveway and some stones. This is a picture from March of this year. You can see those same stones and the driveway. What has happened is the brush has been filled in because this was wetlands. Nowadays, people do not clear that, whereas back in 30, 40 years ago, that wasn't the same thing. The required front yard and rear yard setbacks are 30 feet. The rear yard is currently compliant and will remain compliant at 37.9 feet. The front yard is currently non-compliant at 19.1 feet, and that will remain the same. The maximum height is 30 feet and will be compliant at 29 feet, 6 inches above the average grade. Maximum lot area, lot coverage is 25%, and it will remain compliant at 24.8%. All of these measurements, as I said, have been certified by the engineer, and I believe he is on the call tonight. The pool and the deck are accessory structures which need a 15-foot setback, and it is compliant at 20.3 feet. The proposed home is compliant in every dimension other than the front yard, which is existing, and this home can be built as of right, except for the front yard, which will not change from the existing house. I'd like to ask that the engineer, the architect, Jason Gove, be brought in to just give a brief summary of the project.
Before he does, you
Okay.
had mentioned about the square footage.
Yes,
Are we in compliant with the in-law percentage?
we are compliant with the in-law percentage, yes. It is 33%, and you're allowed 35%.
Yep, okay. So we bring Jason Gove in, please, Allison.
Deb, you'll need to take your plans down for me to do that.
Oh, sure.
Can everybody hear me? This is Jason Gove.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. Name's Jason Gove, architect, 5 Autumn Lane, Gloucester, Mass.
you, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So the Mohans came to me to do work on this project and to, do an addition that would give them some more living space and to bring their, as Deb was saying, to bring their mother-in-law into the same living house. So what we started with, we wanted to stay away from the front yard setbacks. Of course, everything that we tried to do was within the zoning, the volume that would be allowed. And so we sort of started with an addition sort of off to the back of the house. And then created a deck off that back of the house, saying that's the space that really is the living of the lot. In doing so, also the in-law apartment would be down there on the ground floor. And so if you want to go to just switch to the exterior elevations, Deb, just to sort of, okay, so we can see, so we're looking at sort of the first upper right is the front elevation. And so you can see the grade, the shaded area is the existing volume of the house. And you can see the addition that is right above that existing roof line. So it, Deb, in the bottom elevation is the rear elevation. And you can see we've brought the roof, and then we've come down with a sort of a long roof line to sort of bring the scope of the house and the massing of the house as much down as possible in the rear of the yard. Deb, if you could go to the next slide, please. And so you can see from the top elevation, what we're looking at is again, the left, that shaded area is the existing structure. The additions moving to the right. We came out beyond the existing structure about 10 feet, 11 feet. That's where that living area is. And then you can see where the deck comes out, and below that is the in-law apartment. And if you look to the top of that elevation, right above the main peak of the house, that's where we added the master bedroom. So we kept the same roof pitch to match the existing house, brought it up just a little bit lower than the volume that the zoning would allow, came back down with the 4 or 5 roof pitch to meet up with the living area of the first floor living space. The elevation on the bottom of the page is looking, if you're standing in the streets, the left-hand side, again, you can see the shaded area and then the additions. So again, we're going to the left was the backyard. That bank of windows is the kitchen area, and then there's the deck, and below it is the in-law apartment. And if there's any questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Any questions by the board?
So the intrusion into the front yard is just the upper level of the building on top of the front, correct?
Well, that upper level does not encroach on the front setbacks. So it's that addition that pops up is set back, meets the front yard setbacks. It's the existing house that, okay.
Gotcha. So we're altering and expanding a non-conforming structure, right? Yeah, you're not continuing the non-conformity, basically. It's just altering, expanding an existing non-conformity.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Bernie Ellison, anything else?
Yes, to go on to the legal arguments, with regard to the special permit to alter or expand a non-conforming structure, it should be granted because the addition is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing pre-existing non-conforming home. It will provide a ground floor residence for Mrs. Shimataro, a separate, private, more convenient and safe, allow her to stay in her home. It has a larger kitchen to add space for the Mohans to move in. And the improvements are all within the required setbacks. The height and lot coverage requirements are also met. And even though it's a large house, the addition does stay within the building envelope. And even though it's visible from the front of the house, both the addition and the apartment will be constructed to the rear of the structure, and it is in keeping with the residential neighborhood. The neighbors talk about it being a neighborhood of small homes, and they showed a picture of one ranch. But there are many different homes in this neighborhood. This is the home at 12 Harriet Road. Certainly has 3 floors, maybe 4. This is at 14 Harriet Road. This is 22 Harriet Road, 7 Harriet Road, 3 Harriet Road, And this is 209 Atlantic Road, which backs up to Harriet Road. So this is a mixed neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that has both small and large houses, and this house will be well within the range in that neighborhood. It's also a priority of the city to create more accessory units and to allow elders to remain in their home and to be taken care of by their family, and to create more affordable units for non-family members. The city has long had an accessory in-law apartment ordinance, and it's now considering expanding that to allow accessory dwelling units for non-family members. Tonight, there was a hearing at the planning board, which was postponed on that amendment, which would allow ADUs as of right in many instances. And the allowance would be larger than what's being proposed by the Mohans and without the restrictions of the in-law apartment. Also, 2 family units are allowed as of right in this district. The Mohans aren't asking for approval of a 2-family. They're asking for a much more restrictive use directly related to the use by a family member. The city's trying to create more housing options, and the Mohans proposal will do that. It will build a home for an elderly parent that she can live in and age in place. This proposal also meets all the requirements for the in-law apartment. It is 11,943 square feet. It is the required square footage of the lot area is 5,000 as a minimum. The apartment is 808 square feet, which is 33% of the existing total gross floor area, which is 2,417 square feet. That's the existing house, not the new house. And the maximum is 35%. Ms. Mohan is currently the record owner of the property. Her mother, Mrs. Shimataro, has a life estate, and the Mohans and Mrs. Shimataro will be living in this house. The Mohans will file the required affidavit certifying the apartments for a family member. Off-street parking requirements are met. 1.5 spaces are required for the new use, and there is parking for approximately 6 cars existing. The proposal includes both an in-law and an addition to the existing home. And although it's visible from the front, all construction is taking place in the back, and it will retain the appearance of a single-family home. Existing utilities will be updated as necessary, and there is already water at the town water at the property, and there will be connected to the city sewer. The septic system will be used as a dry well for the pool and for stormwater disposal. The Conservation Commission saw this as a very favorable improvement, and any required sewer fees will be paid. And I would suggest that there are no special conditions that need to be placed on this project to make it less detrimental to the neighborhood. And the Mohans will, of course, ensure that the special permit is recorded. This permit also has to meet the requirements of 1.8.3, and I would suggest to you that it does, going briefly through the criteria. The social, economic, and community needs will be served by the addition of the accessory in-law apartment. It's consistent with the predominantly residential neighborhood. It will serve the individual's social needs by providing the home for the parent, and which she would not be able to stay in physically or financially without the remodeling. Also provides an accessory dwelling unit, which is exactly the purpose and priority of the city. And recently, the state has also made this a priority. So it's a priority not only locally, but statewide. Traffic and safety will be, any impact on that will be negligible. There's adequate parking, and there won't be much additional traffic. The property is already adequately served by water. We'll add sewer, and it's consistent with the neighborhood character. As I showed you, there are a variety of homes in this neighborhood, both large and small. Financially, it will add to the fiscal welfare of the city in that the property will be a bit more valuable and will add to the tax base. The natural environment will be improved by 1,200 square feet of plantings, which will replace the existing lawn as required by the Conservation Commission. The lot coverage is below the maximum allowed, and therefore open space is satisfactory. And both the Conservation Commission and the city engineer have signed off on the stormwater management plan that was proposed for the property. I'd also like to address some of the abutters' arguments. The neighbors allege that there are illegal additions to this house. And first of all, I'd like to say this isn't an enforcement hearing. The work that they're referring to, however, was from 2010. And at that time, there was a building permit that was obtained by the Mohans for the work. And if there were additional approvals that were required, the building department would have raised that at that time, and they did not. So there is no illegal additions to this property. The issues of wetlands and drainage continually are brought up by the abutters. They were thoroughly vetted at conservation and by the city engineer, and both have approved the plan. Those issues are within the jurisdiction of the Concom and the city engineer and are not zoning issues. With regard to the owner of 12 Harriet Road, the Roses have pointed to a 2006 order of conditions that they say was not complied with. This order of conditions was issued for a tear down and rebuild of the house at 10 Harriet Road. They claim the Mohans didn't comply with the conditions, and that's very true. They did not, but they didn't build the project. So because they didn't build the project, there was no reason for them to comply with any of the conditions in the order of conditions. Also, there was a picture that was provided to you of what Mrs. Rose claims is her view from her home. And I would suggest to you that that picture was taken really from the corner of the lot and not from the home. This is a picture that I took from the corner, the back of the existing house. And you can see that this is the house at 12 Harriet Road. Now there are no leaves on the trees. This was in March, and you can still barely see the home. So the current view, this is not the current view from the home at 12 Harriet. And in fact, if you look at the aerial, you can see this is 10 Harriet and this is 12 Harriet. So there's quite a distance between the two, and there's a lot of vegetative buffer between the two, which is in the wetlands and the buffer zone. So it is an area that will stay. So I just wanted to address those issues, and we're happy to answer any additional questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Any questions at this point by the board? Okay, so we're going to take public testimony. I'd like to let everyone know if you wish to speak when we go for in favor or against, you'd raise your hand. If you're operating on a cell phone, you dial *9 and that will raise your hand and indicate to us that you want to speak. When you're brought into the meeting, give it a minute so that it loads up, and then give us your name and address for the record, and then tell us why you're for or against any project. This applies to all hearings. So I'd like to ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak in favor of the project, please raise your hand. Anyone in favor of the project that wishes to speak? I see no hands. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the project? First one up is Sue and Tim Rose. We could bring them in.
Hello?
Yes, you're good.
Good evening. It's Tim Rose, 12 Harriet Road. Good evening. First and foremost, Ms. Ellison showed you pictures of the homes in the area. Most of them, first of all, it was 12 and 14 Harriet Road. We all had over 50,000 square feet of lot area. Now, I think 12, 14, 18 was about 50,000 square feet. Most of the pictures that you showed in comparison are 50,000 square foot lot, not 11,000 square foot lot. It's just misleading. That's shameful to show that picture. And then the other picture you showed that we sent from my porch that I took I'm probably 20 or 30 feet higher on a knoll from my front deck was the picture of the back house. Miss Allison took it from the backyard and at the back of the bramble. I can see if the Shimatawa's TV's on, I can see the TV from my kitchen. I can see it on, I can watch the TV. Very misleading. And that's shameful. The order of conditions also, in 2006, there was 2 of them. Now, the Conservation Commission, when they did some work at 10 Harriet Road, they were supposed to put plantings in. They were supposed to put a buffer zone for the driveway in where they removed plantings. They were supposed to, and there was a condition that not on that project that was going to be developed, they did some other work there. There was supposed to be a permanently non-hot top driveway there, gravel or pavers. It was written in 2006, and Miss Harrison was the attorney at the time, and I was at that conservation meeting. I can't find that paperwork, but that was there. If anybody looked back at that, that was, I mean, that was supposed to be done. That was never done. I know they didn't do the original project, but that other area there where they removed all the vegetation back there, they did some work, and there was supposed to be a buffer between the driveway and the wetlands. So, I mean, that's just another issue. So those pictures, I mean, that's misleading. So first of all, we sent you, the board members got the letters that were in opposition of this project, especially letters from the abutters and all the neighbors. 16 people or so were opposed to the project. Our concerns are that this grossly oversized project for a dwelling of 5,343 square foot home on an 11,000 or so square foot lot, excuse me, 3 levels, decks, pools, patios, so on and so forth. I mean, that's just, it's almost 3 times the original size of the home now. Now, that project was not presented to the Conservation Commission. They gave a footprint, but they never sent that total project, 3-level home. They did show the pool and the deck, but did not show the 3 levels of the project, which that should have went back, but evidently it didn't. I'm sorry, get back up my notes here again. And also this total project at 10 Harriet Road, it is totally, that whole lot and project is in the total buffer zone, the whole project, the whole thing. And also the lot coverages, I mean, you could say one thing or another, pools, decks, lot coverage, you can construe it whatever you want to say, but that's lot coverage. I still don't understand how a non-conforming lot in an R20 district can still have 25% lot coverage. It's non-conforming. So everybody that has a conforming lot and can comply with the rules, but that's not okay. That's okay for that. It's just, to me, it's just overzealous. I just don't understand that 25% coverage for non-conforming lot. I get your percentage and I understand that. So next, the application states that the proposed bill out will only violate the ordinance regarding the front yard setbacks. The existing building, however, is already in violation of the lot width measurement. 100 foot is required, and it's only 93 feet plus or minus. It is provided, and although it's only measured on a tangent line to the front of the house, and the addition proposal would also bring that even to more violation. Please review drawing A1 of the building height corner B. It's listed at 47.67 feet, which I can't understand. I don't know. It's on the legend on drawing A1. So I don't know how the coverage or how the calculations pertain to that, and it doesn't make sense. So I would please look at that. I would also for the height also. I'd like to inquire about the construction of the surface of the second floor deck above the patio. Lot coverage includes any structures otherwise roofed. Will there be spaces between the boards, drainage, or will there be boards be fitted together, or will be rubber membrane under the decking to collect or divert runoff away from the patio below, et cetera, et cetera. If so, that would be, a roof would be, patio should be considered a lot coverage. The project proposed with patios, decks, the pool is essential 47-foot wide by 57-foot long annex to the present house. Section 5.24F of the ordinance states, any exterior changes are limited to the construction that allows for the accommodations of an accessory in-law apartment and shall be consistent with the appearance of the structure as a single-family dwelling and stay in the character of the neighborhood. Drawing A2 and A4 show north, south, and east, west sides dramatically changes the appearance of the existing structure and continuity of the neighborhood. And the pictures we sent, obviously, from Harriet Road up, I believe it's 4, 6, 8, and 10 Harriet Road. Those houses were all built by Julian, and they're all cookie cutter houses. If you went to 8 Harriet Road, it's the same footprint as 10. And then there was a deck on back. And as far as there were permits or not permits, I can only state that was on the building assessor map that permits were pulled or not pulled. But that back of that house was a covered 3-season deck that was incorporated into the home as an addition. And you're using that for a percentage of the in-law apartment. And then the garage was removed also. That was incorporated into the living space. I'm sorry, I got off. So how do you imagine how this oversized 3-level congested backyard coverage would change the character and consistency of what is now there? Looking at these pictures, you can see how dramatic oversized houses look next to the small ranches on 6 Harriet Road, owned by the applicants, and the other well-proportioned homes in the property, the dwellings to lot sizes. We feel this project will devalue the properties in the neighborhood, and this would set a precedent for all the non-conforming lots in the area. And there is a reason why the city has lot requirements, size requirements, rules and regulations that are written to protect and prevent overbuilding. So we are asking you, the board, to decline the request for the special audience. This is more like a request for a family resort. There's great rooms, there's game rooms, there's enormous kitchens, 3 levels. This is a monstrosity. So 8 Harriet Road is going to
Please
be
keep
sold.
your comments to the issues at hand, not whether you like what they're doing.
Well, I apologize for that, but our home, we're trying to keep the consistency with the project. I mean, it's a large project. I mean, it's not really about the accessory in-law apartment. It's just a large home. It's a massive project, and that's what the neighborhood's concerned about. It's not just my view; it's the neighbors in the area. I just ask you if this project is coherent with the neighborhood, and read the letters and read the abutters. And it's not me. We're just trying to protect our investment and protect the property and protect the neighborhood. If 8 Harriet Road gets sold, if there's a 54,000 square foot house on that lot, then there's going to be a 54,000 square foot, 5,400 square foot house lot on the non-conforming lot again. It's going to happen. It's going to snowball.
Okay,
And thank you.
I'll hold you there.
I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to remind everybody, we keep our comments to a minimum and to the issue of the zoning. Next up, we have Hannah Goodale. We can bring her in to give her testimony.
Hi, am I on?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Hannah Goodale. I'm at number 22 Harriet. I don't have original comments. I'm going to echo one of Tim's main points. The house, I'm terribly sympathetic with all of the family issues that go into the development of this proposal. I just think this is going to end up in a house that's disproportionate to the lot size. This is going to be a very big house on a very small lot. And like Tim, I'm concerned about that sort of activity snowballing throughout East Gloucester. There's a number of undersized lots on our street. I don't know what the future will hold then. We're all really fond of our neighborhood the way it is. It's wooded, it's has a sort of a nice wooded feel to it. And I hate to see us lose that. And that's the upshot of what I have to say.
Thank you. Next up, Attorney Nestor.
I'm not on this one. I lost power, so I just had to come back on board.
Yep, you're good.
Sorry.
Are you speaking in opposition to Harriet Road?
No.
Okay, stop raising your hand. Next up, we have John Woodrow and Melissa Mosley.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is John Boudreau. I live at 14 Harriet Road with my girlfriend Melissa and our family. I am going to jump on the back of Tim a little bit and Hannah. First of all, thank you guys for hearing this meeting. I understand it's late and it can be very trying at times. So I want to thank you guys for giving us the time. But I want to speak on the sizes of the lots. Mrs. Ellison presented all the homes in the neighborhood, and you do see the homes as being large. They are on significantly larger lots than this house is being proposed on. And the disproportion is concerning to us. We did pay a lot of money for this house about 1.5 years ago now here. And like Hannah was saying, a lot of that was due to the natural beauty of the neighborhood and including the site that we get. It's a little bit different than the site Mrs. Ellison was showing from Tim Rose's, but it is a lot of natural beauty with the wetlands and stuff like that. And we really want to keep that intact. That's our biggest concern, is the wetlands and is the water issue. At the end of Harriet Road and Grapevine, I've been an East Gloucester resident almost all my life, and I've known that that's always been a problem, the flooding over there. I'm sure that's from the, has to do with the wetlands that's next to our driveway. That's one of the problems. Where does all this water go? If that structure is enlarged and placed on this, all the water from the land that should be absorbed, where does that go? It doesn't just disappear. We do have that water table and that wetlands, and it's beginning to erode our driveway that gets into 12 and 14 already. And we don't want that to cause any more problems to the erosion of that pond, wetland, whatever you want to call it. And it's got to go somewhere. And with a house of that size, the water running off the roof, off the decks, into a small area of land, that's got to go somewhere. And it's going to go in that wetland. And what that is going to cause for the future of the houses around it, we don't know. And what happens, I had a friend that lived on Hammond Road, and their above ground pool burst at one point, and all that water, when that happened, poured all the way down Hammond Road, all the way down East Main Street. What happens in some case if they're—
Please, that's irrelevant to this discussion.
Okay. Well, that is something that is going to be put there, but so, I mean, that's really our biggest concern, is the wetlands and what's going to happen with the construction of this home and the size of it, and the scope of that project was not made aware to us. And it will definitely affect the sightline of, of what we have and the value of our home and the value of the site that we get from our home. So those are all certainly issues that we have. And also bringing up the requests that were made we were made aware by the Roses of the requests that were made in 2006. And we believe that they did. And like Ms. Ellison was saying, maybe they didn't have to comply to those things because they were not built or whatever she's saying. But why in 2010 then were they taken advantage of? And what happens? It just seems a lot of build it and ask for permission, ask for apology later if it comes up. So what if they weren't complying by requests being proposed to them earlier? What's going to happen if that continues to happen with them and then other people in the neighborhood? And why can't we just do that stuff like that? So that's the biggest concerns we have with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Please raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing none. We'll go to rebuttal. Attorney Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one thing that is important to remember is what our zoning ordinance governs and how it determines size of a house. We don't have any massing percentages in our ordinance, and we could, but we don't. So what you have to look at is what is the building envelope that is allowed. And even though this house, this lot was conforming when the house was built, it was, the zoning changed. And so now they are the victims of the new zoning. They are, however, meeting the current setbacks. So this building, but for what's already an existing encroachment into the front yard, will be meeting the dimensional setbacks. It will meet the envelope. It meets the height. It meets the lot coverage. And so it's harder to do that on a smaller lot than it is to do it on a larger lot. But they shouldn't be subject to any different requirements than someone building on a large lot who could build a much bigger house meeting those same dimensions. So I think it's important to remember that. With regard to the 2006 order of conditions, the only order of conditions that I saw was for the project. And we have nothing else in evidence, the project that they didn't build. And there's also no evidence that there are any violations or were violations of prior ordinances or building. They did obtain a building permit in 2010, and they complied with that building permit. With regard to the issue of flooding and wetlands and all of those, again, that was thoroughly vetted at conservation. All of the appropriate plans that were required for conservation were provided. I believe Mr. Judd is on the line and he could address that if you wanted to. With regard to the calculations for the house and the gross floor area, Mr. Gove could address those issues if you have any interest in hearing how those calculations were arrived at, and also the same with lot coverage. Those were looked at very closely and the definitions were followed very closely. With regard to value, that's not a zoning issue. Whether something is going to affect the values of properties, it's very difficult determination to make. So I would say that that's something that is not before you. I'm, happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Any questions of the board of the applicant at this point? Anything for clarity? Seeing none. Is that all set, Attorney Ellison?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing and we'll discussion by the board.
Joe, I'm just wondering if maybe Adria can make this motion.
Sure. Any discussion though, thoughts on the project? Anyone?
It seems pretty straightforward to me. I mean, I think they're asking for a special permit and they're asking for the in-law apartment. I think there's been a lot of other discussion,
Yep.
I think, about things that matter to the neighborhood. And if I was in that neighborhood, they would matter to me. I'm just concerned that conservation, water issues, I don't believe that's within our purview. I think it's fair that was vetted at Concom. That's not to be vetted here.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. They're within the envelope, which is very unusual for us.
It is.
For a bit, something, a good sized addition to fit in all the setbacks. And obviously, any project like this, the public sometimes tends to not realize that the water, all the water that's created by this has to be taken care of. And people bring this up over and over. It's obviously been before conservation and the city engineer. And those calculations are on a stamped engineer's plan. They're not, so they have to take away and deal with and retain and disperse this isn't just running off the roofs into the wetland next door. So I think people are nervous about things that get taken care of in the way the structure of a building permit works. So any other members have any comments before we go to a motion?
Yeah, they said they put a dry well in. What was that for?
No, so they're on a septic now. So
Oh,
they're
okay.
going to go to city sewer. They're going to
Yeah.
maintain the leaching field and the septic system for the runoff water to go into as a dry well.
To
So
help
that's how the
improve
engineers
any.
designed all the gutter drains and everything to
Right,
go in. So
right. That's what I was thinking right there. So they did an improvement with any of that water runoff, if anything, from what the engineer proposed there. So, okay. Thank you.
Adria?
Yeah, so I don't really have much more to add. I would agree with the comments that both Michael and yourself, Joe, have made. I understand the neighborhood concerns. However, a lot of it is really not within our purview to deal with. You know, the issues with water runoff and drainage and things, that's Conservation Commission. And if they approved it, there's not really much for us to say otherwise. So I'm ready to make a motion unless there's more discussion.
You have the floor.
All righty. So I would make a motion that in the matter of the petition of Felicia Mohan and Patricia Shimataro seeking a special permit under section 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, and also a special permit under section 5.24 for an accessory in-law apartment to allow construction of an attached addition with living space to convert to accessory in-law apartment at 10 Harriet Road. I would make a motion to approve both special permits. The special permit under section 1.9, I would argue that it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure that is in place. The 6 criteria, social, economic, or community needs served by the proposal. I do think that, I don't think that changes much in terms of social, economic, and community needs. Traffic flow and safety doesn't seem to change much. They already live in that neighborhood. The adequacy of utilities and other public services also does not seem to be an issue for this addition. And I do think the neighborhood varies in what the character of the houses are. So I don't think it negatively impacts the neighborhood character or the social structure. I also don't believe that it is going to negatively impact the qualities of the natural environment, and the issues surrounding that have already been addressed by the Conservation Commission. And there will be a small fiscal impact in the addition to the tax base to the city. So for that reason, I would move to approve special permit under section 1.9. And further, under the special permit under section 5.24 for the accessory in-law apartment, all of the criteria of that of the in-law apartment has been met. I guess I would just add one of the criteria that continues on with the accessory in-law apartment is that every year they would need to get reapproved more or less for that accessory in-law apartment. And so I would vote in favor of that special permit as well.
Motion made on special permit and the variance. Do we have a second? I mean, in the 2 special permits, sorry, do we have a second?
I'd second both of those special permits.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes on both.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes for both.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, for both.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes, for both special permits.
and Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes on both special permits. You've heard our decisions favorable. I asked Greg if he would stamp and sign those plans on the board's behalf. And I'd ask Attorney Ellison if she would submit a draft to us.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. We'll move on to our first new hearing. The petition of Mary K. Valari seeking a variances for lot width, lot frontage, lot area to allow a buildable lot by variance at 8 Riggs Point Road. I believe they're represented by Mr. Milisi, the engineer. Brian, yep. You could bring him in, please. Can you make him a you're muted, Allison. Can we bring him in as a panelist?
Sorry, the names jumped around on me and I brought in the wrong person.
Okay, it's the BM one, the second one. There we go. We see him.
There we go. I think I'm on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Brian Milisi. I'm an engineer with Whitman and Bingham Associates. Here representing Mary Kay or Kathy Valia. And I believe Kathy and Bob Valia are on the call or on the Zoom with me.
Can you give your address, please?
Excuse me?
Can I have your address, please?
Sure, it's 510 Mechanic Street, Leominster, Mass. Zip is 01453.
Thank you.
Okay, proceed.
So the Valier family is the owner of a piece of property located at 8 Riggs Point Road. It's described as map 112, parcel 71 in the Gloucester Assessors files. The property does lie in an R10 zoning district. We are here in front of you tonight requesting zoning relief for the existing deficiencies of the lot, namely lot frontage, lot area, and lot width. I do have a couple of plans ready to go. And I saw in the previous hearing, you do allow screen sharing, but this piece of property is shown on a land court or a registered survey done in 1986. And as such is deficient in lot area. Current zoning requirements call for a requirement of 10,000 square feet. The existing lot is 7,405 square feet. Current zoning requirements call for a lot width of 80 feet. Currently, the lot is 61 feet wide, as described in the zoning code. And current zoning requirements require 65 feet of frontage in the zone. And currently, the lot has 51.25 feet of frontage. Again, I do think it's important to point out that the lot is not being subdivided. It hasn't been subdivided since that original land court plan was created. And we are asking for relief to the existing lot. I'd like to point out that this same relief was requested and granted back in February of 2011. The original owner, who was Mary M. Valia, which is Bob and Kathy's mother. She originally owned the lot with her and their dad, Paul. Paul passed away in 1997. We represented the Valia family back in 2011. We came in front of this board and asked for the same relief, and it was granted. At the time, the lot did have an existing dilapidated house on it. And back in 2012, I believe, the project was commenced. The existing dwelling, the dilapidated dwelling was taken down with a valid demolition permit. And once the lot was kind of ready to go for building, the project kind of waned. Mary unfortunately ended up falling ill. She got sick, and she ended up passing away last summer. And so now the Villar family is back in front of this board asking for this relief to bring the lot back into compliance so they can go ahead and build that single family home. So again, if you, Allison, I don't know if you have the site plan.
Yeah, do you need us to share it?
I could share. I do have it kind of teed up and ready to go if it's easier that way.
Yeah, we can allow you to share your screen if you want.
So I just,
It has capabilities.
Sorry?
Every panelist already has capabilities.
Yeah, there we go.
can you, so you can see that?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. So again, this is a lot in question. Done by the dark lines, 51.25 feet of frontage, kind of in a trapezoidal piece here. The dash line is where the former house was. That was knocked down back again in 2012. I should point out that the new structure where we propose meets all the dimensional offsets to the property lines. Again, the R10 zoning, we have a 20-foot front yard, 10-foot side yards, and a 10-foot rear yard. There is a gas easement, existing gas easement that runs across the rear of the property. So we took the house and tried to place it cognizant of the abutters, and such that we tried to be about equidistant off of the property lines. So where they call for a 10-foot minimum, we show about a 17.1 on one side and a 17.6 on the other side. Again, in the middle of the lot, set back a little bit to the rear of the lot such that we can get a couple of parking spaces in here, not have to park on the road, and provide a little bit of architectural nuance with the front of these houses being a little closer to the road, and ours set back a little bit. I will point out that, again, I had represented the Villers back in 2011 when we were in front of this board. The original architectural plans called for a wraparound deck. And through the zoning process and through some of the concerns of the abutters about that, with that wraparound deck, we removed that from the plan. Of course, we wanted to have a smaller deck in the back just to have some outdoor area and a bit of an overhang over the front door here. But we did kind of, we heard the abutters' concerns and we did remove that wraparound deck. Going kind of to, and I'm certainly no attorney, but I'm kind of going to what they call the legal end of things. In defense of the request for the variances, strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would render this existing lot unbuildable and cause a very substantial hardship to the current property owner. Again, I think it's very important to point out that we are not subdividing this lot. We're not creating any lot lines. This lot is as it sits on the plan, again, dated in May of 1986. The hardship, again, is due to the shape of the lot and the fact that the existing lot is undersized and does not meet current zoning standards in the form of frontage, lot area, and lot width. As shown in the subdivision plan or that land court plan, many of the current lots in the vicinity of 8 Riggs Point Road, up and down the street, many of the lots are undersized, both in lot area, lot frontage, and lot width. And it's certainly our belief that the variance can be granted without substantial harm to the public good and without undercutting the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance is an R10 zoning district, which allows for single-family dwellings, and which is the uses that we are proposing. The residential use is certainly in harmony with the surrounding neighborhood as well as the zoning ordinance and does not detract from the surrounding area. Allowing the project to move forward would bring this unsightly lot into into a buildable lot and put some money back in the tax rolls of the city of Gloucester. I believe that's probably my presentation. Included in the package that we submitted to you included this site plan. It did include architectural plans to show the intent of what the Valairs would put on the property. A clapboard style single family home. We did include the decision from 2011 and some of the materials from the filing a couple of years ago. We were remiss in allowing those permits to lapse. At the time, we did file for and received a order of conditions from the Gloucester Conservation Commission. As a matter of fact, if you look up on the assessor's website, the snapshot of the property shows our DEP file number. That was hung there when they started to do some of the work in raising the home. We certainly would have to go back to them to renew that permit as well. But we figured we would start here with your board in order to resurrect the relief that was granted previously. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll be quiet and let you run the rest of the meeting. Thank
Okay,
you.
if you could take down your screen share, please. Okay, any immediate questions by the board, or should we take testimony? Okay, we'll go to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application? Please raise your hand. You see Attorney Nestor has his hand up.
Put it down.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please raise your hand.
Can't raise my hand all of a sudden.
Okay, you're on. Attorney Nestor.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mark Nestor. I represent John McDougall, who's in a butter at 10 Riggs Point Road.
Your address, Mark.
Pardon me?
Your address, please.
Sorry. 45 Middle Street, Suite 1, Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And I'm an attorney. My clients have a number of concerns. They're the abutters. For point of clarification, which I did attach in my letter, which I sent on April 12th, 2021. My clients, namely Mr. McDougall and Beverly Daly, were the opponents that were listed in the 2011 decision, and they signed statements. I have Beverly's statement. I attached Mr. McDougall's. They don't recall ever withdrawing their opposition, although that's what the decision says in 2011, and I have no idea who drafted it. There was some discussions regarding, as I understand, the deck, but my clients don't believe, to the best of my knowledge, they withdrew their opposition, which is contrary to what's listed in the decision. And also for the record, this time I submitted a petition that have 7 names on it. I have 2 more names that I received, so I have 9 abutters to the property that currently oppose the proposal. A couple of issues are the prior building, which was in fact torn down approximately 9 years ago, was a single-story, 644 square foot building. The applicant is not seeking to rebuild a building that size, but is seeking to rebuild a building which, including the enclosed deck and the roof deck, the enclosed portion of the roof deck is now going to be more than double in size to more than 1,344 square feet. This is clearly a significant increase for a lot. I would also point out that looking at all the properties around Riggs Point Road, that 8 Riggs Point appears to be the second smallest lot there. Most of the abutters around there have lots of 10,000 square feet or more. So clearly putting a house on that is a little bit different than putting a house on an extremely small lot, which is only 7,405 feet. They're looking for 21% reduction in the dimensions. And I understand the dimensions have been there from a land court, but that bespeaks the issue of doubling the size of the house to go on the same location. There are some issues which I've raised regarding the site plan. The other concern I have is I looked at the plans that were attached to the building plans. They're dated 2012. They seem to be more rough plans than anything else. The 6 plans I saw, I'm not sure quite true even whether the elevations are going to be still accurate, since the property was torn down and the lot was subject to erosion for the last 9 years. I don't see any stamps on the building plans, and so I'm not sure whether the board should take cognizance of those or require that the applicant submit a series of stamp plans that are current with the property. I would think 9 years is a long time to rely on old plans. We would submit that as the applicant has admitted, they did get an order of conditions back in 2011. And again, that's expired per the statute. They will have to go back in front of the Conservation Commission, and my clients will raise issues there regarding the water runoff. I don't believe my clients were even aware back in 2011 there was a Conservation Commission hearing. They will be aware now. Finally, I would submit that it doesn't really address the requirements of 1.7.2. And I would say that if you look at the site plan, especially look at the building plans, they don't suffice for what the statute calls for the submission to this board. And when I ask for that, plus the size of the building, plus the fact that almost every abutter there, 70% of the abutters are now in opposition to this, that I would ask the board to not consider this.
All set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, please raise your hand. I see none. We'll have rebuttal. Mr. Maliski, you can rebut anything said.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate Attorney Nestor's comments. I did take some quick notes, hopefully. So as far as the size of the lots go, again, if you were to look at page 2 of the land court plan that was included in the package, one interesting thing is what I would agree with Mr. Nestor, that the 7,405 square feet of the subject lot is one of the smaller ones. Mr. McDougall's lot is the smallest lot at 6,534 square feet. And again, all the lots touching the Valere lot are all undersized, all under the 10,000 square feet. Back in 2011, as well as when we were resurrecting the filing, the Valeres do not want to go up and put up a monster of a house. However, they do want to put something up that is, in tune with current standards. The fact of the matter is, at 6 Riggs Point Road, which is where the Dailies live, and I'm talking footprint now, not volume of house or not living square footage, but footprint of the house. The Dailies house is roughly 1,408 square feet. And again, that's taken from the assessor's records. I may be off by a little bit. At 10 Riggs Point Road, which is where the McDougalls live, their footprint is roughly 1,176 square feet. And the footprint of what the Valeres are proposing, or what this proposes, is 996 square feet. So it certainly is smaller than all of the surrounding houses. I point out again that we are not asking for relief from any property line offsets or any dimensional offsets from that. We conform to front, side, and rear setbacks. And again, we took into account the neighbors and the abutting structures and tried to center this thing such that we have equidistance from the homes. I believe Mr. Nestor brought up a very quick concern about the erosion of the lot, in the fact that some of the elevations may not be correct. There isn't very many grade changes of the lot. One of the things, if you read in his letter that he supplied to the commission, is he also talks about ledge. We all know there's ledge up there. You can see the outcrops when you go up there. And I would say to the board that ledge doesn't typically erode. I would think that the topography of the lot is very much the same as it was a few years ago. From the architectural plans, yep, we did use the older plans. And again, what those represent is the style of home that it was going to build. It's not going to be a stucco home or Floridian style home. It's going to be a shingled roof with clapboard siding that's going to fit in with the neighborhood and fit in with the style of homes. We do believe that the information that we've submitted, does meet the requirements. It certainly did a few years ago. I know things change. I'm a little whiter and grayer than I was 9 years ago. But we do believe the information that we have supplied gives the board enough information in which to render a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion by the board?
Yeah, I have a sort of a question for understanding what we're actually voting on. I mean, I can read that we're voting on variances. I don't mean that. But Attorney Nestor and others seem to be implying that we're voting on this house that's drawn on this lot. I don't think, so help me, Joe and others, I don't think that's what we're voting for. We're talking about a lot and whether by variance we're going to allow this lot to be buildable.
Right.
We haven't granted, I don't think anything else is being asked for.
Right, this is the difference
At this time.
between this and like the one we have coming up. There's no variance request with regard to setbacks.
Right.
So we're only interested in the footprint when we're dealing with lots. If they were asking us for a front yard, a side yard, a rear yard variance, then we would be discussing what the house is going to be like, because that weighs into our decision of how close we're willing to put it someday. But what I see in this case, and if you look on even this is registered land, certified, and this always was a lot this size. It always had a home on it.
Yes.
It's when you go up there, it almost looks like a missing tooth in that
yes.
It's this
Agreed.
overrun piece of land that at one point was a nice little home. And to me, I don't think it's any different. Like he said, it is smaller than the houses around it. It meets, it's the distance from the boundaries that our ordinances require. The fact that, if it was under 5,000, that tends to be a no-no for us, but this is 7,400 in a 10,000 zone. And we've done this type of variance for lot width and size in many times in the past. So,
well, I voted for this one 11 years ago.
Yeah. So I'm not,
10 years ago.
That's what I feel. And like I say, what the house in this one instance is not relevant, I guess. We're not the looks police. If it was stucco, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
It's not our jurisdiction. All we're interested in is the footprint in 27 foot 8 by 36 with a deck, to me is a pretty small home on a small lot, which is very appropriate, I think. So
yep.
Just my reading on it.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions by the board?
I agree with you, Joe.
So I guess we will then go to a motion.
I can make a motion.
Thank you.
On the petition of Mary K. Valari seeking variances for lot width, lot frontage, lot area to allow a buildable lot by variance, I would literally go back and just read from the previous one, simply because I voted on the previous one 10 years ago, that I've carefully considered the petitioner's request and find that owing to the soil condition, shape, and topography of the land, especially affecting such land, a literal enforcement of the original zoning ordinance would involve substantial hardship to the petitioner. I think that was true back then, and I think it's even more true now, given the fact that the house has been torn down. And there's no house there to be begging to be replaced, as there was before. So I would see it as an enormous financial hardship. And I guess I'm a little surprised actually that there's as much opposition as there is to a vacant lot that always had a house on it that's reasonably the same size as a number of other lots in the same area that have larger houses than the one that's being proposed. So I would make a motion in favor of these 3 variances.
And I will second the motion.
Motion's made and seconded on the application for variances for lot width, lot frontage, and lot area. Roll call vote.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes, in favor of all 3.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, for all 3 variances.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, in favor of all 3 variances for the reasons stated.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes, for all 3.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes for the variances owing to the conditions of the lot, the shape, the ledge, the slope. And I see that there's no reason that there's obviously a hardship created if this was denied. And I also vote yes. You've heard our decision is favorable. Greg, I would ask if you would stamp and sign those plans on behalf of the board. And I will write the decision.
Thank you, Joe.
Ryan, you're all set?
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you guys for your time. Have a great night.
You too.
Luck.
Our next application is the petition of Nathaniel and Samantha Denon, seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure to allow the construction of an attached 2-story garage with dormered storage, game room on 2nd floor level, and extend porch to the ends of the existing structure at 11 Atlantic Street. I believe they're represented by Horace Turner, the architect. Horace? Horace, are you there? You not unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Horace Turner, 523 Essex Ave, Gloucester, Mass. I'm here representing Nathaniel and Samantha Denning. I believe Samantha actually might be on the line as well. We're here asking for a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. The lot itself is in R20, and it actually meets all the requirements of R20, except for the front setback. The front setback is 30 feet. The house right now is non-conforming at 18.3. The proposed garage would be 27 feet away from the property line. So it wouldn't be any more non-conforming than the existing structure. The purpose of the garage, of the 2-story garage, is one, to alleviate parking along the side. If you actually have been to the site, I'm quite sure you found it difficult to actually even stop on Atlantic Road to actually view the house. With the garage, it would actually give you a little parking area off of Atlantic Street leading towards the garage. So the garage is actually set back from the street or from the house 10 feet. So you would actually have an additional 20 feet to park in front of the garage itself. The Dennings actually have 4 young kids, And this would actually help them tremendously to be able to get them into the house from not being being right on Atlantic Street. There are some modifications being made to the interior, to the kitchen and to the second floor, but nothing that they actually would affect the board. The main thing is the garage placement, and then there is a wraparound porch or an extended porch, which is also no more non-conforming than the existing structure. The Dennings feel that, this project wouldn't impact the neighborhood at all, and are looking forward to actually moving right along with this project. So if there are any questions, I'm free to answer.
I have one question on the front steps that are there now, and then this new front porch with the roof over. Is that no increase in nonconformity?
That's correct.
It's the
That's
same
correct.
depth.
It's 14 and 14.
Okay. And you able to drive into the second floor garage?
You will be. There will be an apron. We're actually going to elevate that up from the street a little bit so that we can actually create some drainage going out. Right now, there's a drainage problem from the street that's actually going onto their property from Atlantic Street. So we hope to actually elevate that, the second level of the garage up maybe about 6 to a foot above Atlantic Street. So there'll be an apron tapering down from the garage to Atlantic Street. And it would also give any additional off-street parking. If you wanted to come and visit, you would actually have a space to pull up into.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll take testimony. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. I remind you, if you're on a cell phone, you dial *9, that raises your hand to us. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please raise your hand. Anyone in opposition? I see none. There'll be no reason for rebuttal. So to be clear, we're asking for a special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. Are we doing a variance for the front?
No, we're not. It's just for a special permit.
Yeah, okay. Any questions by the board or discussion? Go for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me find it. Petition of Nathaniel and Samantha Denon seeking special permit 1.9, alter and expand non-conforming structure to allow construction of attached two-story garage with dormered storage game room on second floor level and extend porch to the ends of the existing structure at 11 Atlantic. I'd make a motion in favor of the special permit. It's not substantially more detrimental to the existing structure.
And I will second that motion.
Motion made and seconded on special permit. Roll call vote.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, I would vote in favor for the special permit.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes. I agree that it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Horace, you've heard our decisions, favorable.
Thank you very much.
We'll get a decision drafted and out. Greg, if you would stamp and sign those plans on our behalf.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Are you
I-
asking, are you, Mr. Chairman, are you asking me to draft the decision or?
I know you have not done that in the past. Are you volunteering?
No.
Okay, we'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
I will write that.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm getting good with these templates.
Thank you, Joe.
All righty, next hearing is the petition of Dale Shepherd Rosen seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. Variances for front yard setback, side yard setback to allow construction of an addition to include a bedroom and full bath on the first floor at 11 Traverse Street. I believe Attorney Breaker is representing.
Yes, can you hear me,
Yes,
Mr.
we
Chairman?
can.
Okay, sorry, I don't know, my video is not working, I apologize. Megan Breaker of Klein Gardner and O'Connor, 96 Middle Street, Gloucester. I represent the applicant Dale Shepherd Rosen. This property is a single-family, two-story home. It's located in the R10 district. As the chairman stated, the applicant is seeking a special permit to alter, expand a non-conforming structure and variances for the front and right side yard setbacks. The applicant's looking to construct a modest addition, which would be about 328 square feet to the first floor, which would consist of a bedroom and a full bathroom. The location of the addition will be, as you could see in the photographs, where their current shed, fence, and plantings are. The applicant plans to remove those, obviously, in order to construct the addition. Due to the size of the fence and the shed, the addition as built is not going to drastically change the appearance of the property. And I think that the photographs and the plans show that pretty well. This addition is necessary for the applicant and her husband in order for them to remain in their home, given their ages and health conditions, and also future needs of both of them. Currently, however, the applicant's husband is having a very difficult time accessing the second floor, which is where the only full bathroom and bedrooms are located. The applicant and her husband looked into other options. However, given the size and shape of the staircase, it's a spiral staircase and is very narrow. Most other options, such as a chairlift, were not feasible, but were looked into. A previous variance was granted for the front yard setback in 2004 of 9 feet. The addition will be within will be within the setback at 19 feet and will not conform with the right yard setback, which requires 10 feet, but will be at 7. The applicant has reached out to their immediate surrounding neighborhoods to discuss the addition and get some feedback. She received only positive feedback, and we are not aware of any objections at this time. The addition is keeping with the neighborhood and the structure of other homes in this densely settled area. Granting the relief will not harm the public good or undercut the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinances, nor would it be a substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. The applicant would have a substantial hardship if strict enforcement of the zoning ordinances were applied given the shape and topography of the land. And at this time, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant at this point? Okay, we'll go to public testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. Anyone in the audience in favor, raise your hand, please. I see none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please raise your hand. Anyone in opposition? Again, I see none. There'll be no need for rebuttal. We can go to a motion or any discussion previous. Feel free. Anyone? I think it's a pretty modest addition, a few small variances, but certainly serves a good purpose. We'll go to a motion, please.
I can make a motion. I was trying to unmute myself, sorry.
No problem.
Petition of Dale Shepherd Rosen seeking special permit 1.9 to alter and expand non-conforming structure and variances for front yard setback, side yard setback to allow construction in addition to include a bedroom and a full bath. A special permit, easy one. It is adding to the nonconformity, but I don't think it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. In light of the fact that there's no opposition and a hardship for the applicant trying to make space to be able to stay in his own home, given the shape and lot topography, I think variances can be granted without detriment to the public good. So I'd make a motion for the front and side yard setbacks as well. Variances for front and side yard.
And I will second Michael's motion.
Motion made and seconded for a special permit to alter and expand and for variances for front yard and side yard setbacks. Roll call vote.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes for the special permit and yes for the front and side yard variances.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes for the special permit and both variances.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes, for the special permit and both variances.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes. Attorney Breaker, you've heard our decision. Greg, I would ask if you would stamp and sign those plans on behalf of the board.
Yes.
And I would ask Attorney Breaker if she'd prepare a draft for us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Right. Next petition, application is the petition of Blackburn LLC seeking a special permit under 1.8.3 use table and special permit 2.3.4 number 9 to allow 7 tables on permanent patio for 28 to 30 seats at 1 Washington Street. I believe they're represented by Attorney Johnstone.
Here I am.
There you go.
Somebody had to rejoin. Okay. Good evening. I am Attorney Patricia Johnstone. I am here on behalf of Tonos LLC and Blackburn LLC, who are seeking, as per the submitted plans. I think ours is going to be relatively easy and less complicated than many of the
Can we
petitions.
just grab your address for the record?
14 Pleasant Street, Gloucester, Mass.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As you can see, this is a petition to make permanent the outside seating that Tonos had at the all last summer through the temporary permitting. But now they want to extend that and make it permanent. And they're going to, it's about 890 square feet. It's going to be substantially exactly where it was last year. This is in keeping with, this was allowed to Giuseppe's in, I believe, 2013, the decisions attached to the application. And this is almost identical to that petition. It's 30 seats. It is 7 tables instead of 5 tables. Tonos is going to put chain link fencing around the perimeter. That was a concern that was raised by the building department to make sure that none of the cars that park there would like roll into it. He's also going to put curbing on the outside, concrete curbing. And that is about, that's a summary of our application. Pretty simple.
Okay, any questions? So what we've done in the past, and I'm sure we're going to have many more of these coming. Before the pandemic, we had approved across the street. And our only concern is public safety. We're not so much chain link fence people, although that's their prerogative.
You know, I misspoke. I did say chain link fence. It's actually wrought iron. I apologize.
Okay, so that would be nicer.
Which is
And
much more in keeping with Mr. Catarano's personal style.
so around where the cars will park, The sidewalk and the curbing of the street sidewalk serves a pretty good purpose. But we've been sort of requesting permanent barrier, like where those cars would pull up to. Is that gonna be a curbing or planting?
Yep. That's gonna be the wrought iron fencing on the inside with the curbing on the outside at the base of the fencing.
Okay. Any other questions, board members, with regard to that? That's been really our only issue.
Is there a minimum what we're looking for, Joe? As far as like height or something for like a curving or something, or, I mean, I'm okay with it. I remember across the street, they had those planters, but they had to be
Right,
like stood down and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did. They were, in this case, most of this is facing into their own parking lot. So I think, obviously you're concerned with a patron pulling up and going right over the hump. So,
Right.
but there would definitely have to be, I think in the decision order, it has to reference some type of substantial, it can't just be one of those little, rubber, parking stops. It's got to be concrete, I would think.
No, it is going to be concrete.
Okay, but we'd
And
like,
then behind it, the wrought fencing.
yeah,
And on Main Street, there is the sidewalk, the mailboxes, the trees, the benches, before you get to that parking area
exactly.
on the Main Street side.
So that, we're good with that. So we definitely want that in the decision to describe the curbing as such. Testimony will, anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. See none. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition, raise your hand, please. Again, we see none. There'll be no need for rebuttal. We can move to a motion with conditions.
I'll make a motion. You can add some conditions. Petition of Blackburn LLC seeking special permit 1.8.3, use table, and special permit 2.3.4, number 9, to allow 7 tables on permanent patio for 28 seats at 1 Washington Street. I would make a motion to accept both special permits with the following sort of conditions we talked about. So you're already volunteering a wrought iron fence, already volunteering some sort of concrete curbing on the outside. Anything else, Joe, we want to add?
I don't believe so. Just, that's our only really concern is those cars that are parking, you know, they get a couple of spritzes in them and they hit the gas pedal instead of the brake.
Is that the
Okay.
completed motion?
I think so.
That's a motion.
Okay, I will second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the application. A roll call vote.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes, and I would prefer sangrias over spritzers.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, I would vote in favor. I think this is a great project. I'm super excited for it and can't wait to be a patron on their patio this summer.
and Mr.
Agreed.
Parisi.
I also vote yes. You've heard our decision. Would you create a draft for us and forward it to the board? And
I
Greg,
have it.
I'd ask
It will be
you-
out there in a few minutes.
Greg, if you'd sign the stamp and sign the plans on our behalf, we'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Okay, next hearing is the petition of Patricia Kavanaugh, seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure to allow the addition of 2 gable-style dormers, second-story decks, front and back, and stairway on the right side in front for the purpose of converting property from 1 family to 2 family at 6 Parker Street, represented by Attorney Frontiero.
Joe, one quick question before
Yeah.
Attorney Frontiero comes. So this was advertised as 6 Parker Street, and it's 6 Parker Court. Any issues with that?
Was the
Because I
ad-
went to 6 Parker Street. Took me a second to realize what was going on.
Yeah, Allison, was the ad wrong?
Didn't notice that, but it must have been 6 Parker Street, but the map in the lot is correct, which is
Well,
obviously.
the application says Parker Court,
Right.
and it is on Parker Court, obviously. Correct?
Yes.
I'm not arguing one way or the other.
yeah.
I'm just telling you that I didn't read the ad in the paper. So if Sal's fine, I'm fine. I just want to make sure it's all done legally. That's all.
Yep. Yeah, I think, I mean, we had that other issue, but that was like a different name, I believe. or
It was,
something.
yeah, duly.
Yeah, this is court or street or place I'm not so worried about. So I would say let's proceed.
All right, thank you. For the record, Sal Frontiero, 46 Middle Street, for the petitioner Patricia Kavanaugh, relative to her application for a special permit to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. Again, this concerns 6 Parker Court, which is in the R5 zoning district. It is located behind, but at a substantially higher elevation than the Institution for Savings. So it's that road that's kind of set up high behind it. The site consists of a 3,520 square foot lot containing a single family home. The site is on a dead-end street with houses on the easterly side. The westerly side does not have houses at all, as that's where it drops off down to where the bank is. The lot itself is non-conforming as to lot size, and the single-family home on site is non-conforming as to left side yard setback, right side yard setback, and rear yard setback. There is currently 5 parking spaces on site, and will continue to be 5 parking spaces on site after this project is done if approved. The current structure is a 2-story single-family home with approximately 1,744 square feet of living space. And the petitioner proposes to add 2 dormers and a 2nd floor deck with the railing above the existing living space in both the front and back of the building, and also to add a stairway for a means of egress on the right side and front. So 2 different stairways there. All this for the purposes of converting to a 2-family dwelling. It would end up with a 1st floor, 2-bedroom, 1,020 square foot unit, and then the 2nd floor unit would be 2 bedrooms as well at 755 square feet. I should note that I originally asked for a special permit to convert to a 2-family, then realized, of course, Greg pointed out to me that this is the one district that you don't need that. So we don't need that relief. I did file an amended application without that relief. As to the special permit, as this board knows, under section 2.4.3b, changes to non-conforming single and 2-family structures are allowed if the changes are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. However, single and 2 families are subject to a 2-prong test. The first part is whether or not the proposed changes increase the non-conforming nature of the structure. If they don't, then no special permit is necessary. In this situation, we propose to magnify an existing right side yard setback encroachment by adding the stairs. And we're also adding more bulk within the cube. And you know, I believe the case law says that if you have an undersized lot, changes within the cube are adding more bulk to something that's already undersized. In that situation, it is making it more non-conforming. So I would submit that the second prong of the test is applicable. However, the structure as proposed will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. First, there will be no increase in footprint as it pertains to living space. The increases in footprint all have to do with means of egress, stairways. Second, the living space expansion within the existing building cube is only just 2 gable-style dormers and decks. And the effect on the neighborhood of these structures, the structural changes will be minimal, resulting in keeping with the neighborhood density. The neighborhood already consists of a mix of residential uses. The property immediately to the right, northeast 4 Parker Court is a 3-story, 4-family home on a 4,800 square foot lot. This structure will have a greater lot area per dwelling unit than 4 Parker if this is allowed. The other 2 homes on Parker Court, including the lot in the corner of East Main Street, consist of a single-family use and a 2-family use. And the two properties to the rear consist of a single-family use and a three-family use. So it's an eclectic mix of uses and structures. So for these reasons, I believe it would fit into the character of the neighborhood. Also, the petitioner sent a letter to all of the abutters on the abutters list. And in this situation, I usually draft the letter and then I, so that I make sure the wording is accurate, have the applicant send it themselves with instructions to contact me if they have any questions, and we offer them to review the plans. One person did reply, Matthew Parisi at 5 Stanley Court, and he complimented her on her improvements to the property. She has been improving the property since she bought it. It's in much better shape than when she bought it. She's painted it, updated it. So the neighbors all appear to be satisfied with what she's doing. So for the above reasons, I would submit that it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood and ask that the special permit be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to, any questions at this time? No? Okay, we'll ask for testimony. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. Anyone in the audience in favor? I see none. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone in the audience in opposition? Again, I see none. There'll be no rebuttal. Move on to a motion.
I can make a motion.
Thank you.
Petition of Patricia, Kavanaugh, seeking special permit 1.9 alter and expand non-conforming structure to allow the addition of 2 gable-style dormers, second-story decks, front and back, and stairway on the right side and front for the purpose of converting property from a 1-family to a 2-family at 6 Parker Court. I think Sal delineated pretty clearly. It is more non-conforming. It is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I would make a motion in favor of the special permit for the reasons stated.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded for a special permit to alter and expand. Roll call vote.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, for the reasons stated, I would vote in favor. I think it's a good project.
Mr. Nyman,
Ditto for me. Yes, I think it's a good project.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes, for special permit.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes, for the special permit.
and Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes. I agree it's an increase in nonconformity, but it's certainly not a substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Attorney Frontiero, you've heard our decision is favorable. We submit a draft. We'd appreciate that. And Greg, I'd ask if you would stamp and sign those plans on behalf of us.
Be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last hearing of the night is the petition of Thomas and Megan Hanlon, seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. Variances for left side yard setback, rear yard, and lot coverage to allow the demolition of a 1-story kitchen and deck and reconstruction of new 2-story addition on the footprint to remain the same at 72 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I believe the architect, Joe Terramina, is representing.
Joe, can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, can you get a little light? Can you get a little closer?
How about now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sorry about that. I almost lost you and then it came back on. So I'm Joseph Tarvina, Tarvina Architects, 10B Riverview Way in Gloucester. And I'm here representing Megan and Thomas Hanlon. And let's see. And they are on the call, so if there's any questions for them. And Megan and Tom have newly purchased this home a few months ago, mainly so that Tom could be closer to his work in Peabody, ultimately to retire to this beautiful town of ours, the city of ours. And hopefully Megan can get back to coastal living, as she says. So we're seeking a special permit relief from section 1.9 to alter.
We're losing you, Joe. We're losing your sound a little. You need to either get your mic closer. Can you speak so I can tell if we can hear you? Yeah, I'm not getting it. Anyone else?
Joe?
No, I'm not hearing him.
Can you hear me now?
No,
Barely.
barely. It's like a whisper.
Jeez. Sorry about that. How about now?
Little better, but not good enough.
Yeah, I got my volume all the way up. I don't know what to do.
Can you call in?
Yeah, that's what I do, Joe. I'm actually on my phone, and I just mute my computer.
Okay, let me see if I can do this. Bear with me. Sorry about that. Joe, am I on?
Yeah, put your screen on mute. Your computer.
Are you speaking to us, Joe? We can't hear you.
Is that you, 2449? Nod your head. Right, so we have to bring that in. Yep.
And he's got to unmute himself too. Yeah. *6, is that what it is, Joe?
Yeah, *6 will unmute your phone, Joe. There you go.
Okay. Hey.
The world of technology.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Strange times we're living in. Okay. If I can, may have to turn my computer into that. Okay. So back to the special permit 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure. The scope of the work is to remove, there's a rear kitchen L, one-story L on the rear of the house, as well as a deck. And the plan is to remove those two structures and construct a new two-story structure, roof line to match the existing home on the front side. And roughly this addition fits immediately back on the same footprint that the one-story kitchen and deck were on. And the two items that increase the nonconformity are the proposed steps that bring you into a new mudroom entry and a new sort of low at grade one-story doghouse bulkhead so that there's some basement access. So we feel that it's not any more detrimental to the neighborhood, even though the conformity increases. We did submit communications from 4 of the neighbors, and I think we did that on Wednesday, so I hope you have that from neighbors at number 74, 77, and 2 at 79 Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, we got that.
And all spoke in favor, and we're unaware of anybody who is opposed to the project.
the other thing that's going on is the front portion of the house. We will bump out the roof with 2 shed dormers to increase some headroom there, because it really is a 1.5-story home as it is. And so to make the second floor more usable, the dormers will be added on there. We are looking for the left side for variance, left side and rear yard setbacks, again, because of the stairs that come into the new mudroom and that bulkhead entrance for the basement, so the left and rear side. And because of the shape and size of the lot, it was really the only place that we could do the addition. And I think that's it on, it's a pretty much,
We're
that's
asking for
the,
coverage.
some,
We're asking a variance. for
and the lot
coverage.
coverage.
I
That's
think it's
correct. I'm sorry
2.9%.
about that.
Yeah.
So 2.9%. So the existing is 32.9% and the proposed is 32.9%. So the lot coverage isn't increasing, but consequently, we still have a variance for 2.9% on the lot coverage.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
And I will open it up to questions.
Yeah, any questions at this time by the board? We'll take public testimony, open a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand. If you're on a phone, you dial *9 to raise your hand. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please raise your hand. If you wish to speak in opposition. We have no one in opposition. There'll be no rebuttal.
Adria, do you mind making a motion on this one?
Sure.
Any discussion by the board before the motion?
Nope.
I think it's pretty cut and dry. Minimal variances, minimal lot, correcting a lot coverage issue. Nice little project.
Strong neighborhood
You have the
support
floor.
too.
Ready for me?
Yes.
All right. So in the petition of Thomas and Megan Hanlon seeking a special permit under section 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, and also variances for left side yard and rear side yard setbacks, as well as lot coverage to allow for the demolition of a 1-story kitchen and deck and reconstruction of a new 2-story addition footprint to remain the same at 72 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I would make a motion to approve the special permit. I do think it is an increase in the nonconformity. However, I don't think it to be more or substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, especially considering the support that they have from the abutters, in addition to the fact that it is really the same footprint. So I would vote in favor of the special permit. The variances for the left side yard and rear, rear side yard. Again, I would move approval for those as well. I do think that, given the size of the lot and the location of the current structure on the lot, I think Joe's right. There isn't really any place else to put an addition. And I think, unfortunate that they had to get rid of their deck, but I think a smart move on their part. Obviously, they need the extra space, and so it seems logical that that is where it would go, considering there's already the footprint established. And then lot coverage, we are not changing the lot coverage in any way. We're actually correcting. We're not correcting, but we would be granting relief for what is already in existence. And so I would vote approval of the variance for lot coverage as well.
Okay. Michael?
Second for the special permit and for the variances.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for a special permit and 3 variances. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Hey, wait, no one seconded it. Oh, yes, sorry.
I
Mike
did.
seconded. I'm losing my mind.
Okay.
Sorry.
all right.
I've been called worse than no one, so.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes on both, the special permit and the variances.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, for the special permit and the variances.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, for all of the relief requested.
and Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes, in favor. Joe, you've heard our decisions, favorable. Greg, if you'd stamp and sign those plans on our behalf.
Yes.
And anybody looking to,
Oh, I can write this one, Joe.
great. Adria will write the decision. Okay, that's the last of our hearings.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
So the packets for the meeting in 2 weeks are at the office. And there's a few decisions to be signed if anyone can swing by. Michael, did you get called about getting sworn in?
I did get called. I haven't gotten sworn in. I'll get down there and do it.
Yeah, we got the man letters. You better get down. You can call and they do it right over the phone.
Oh, no, I didn't know
Call
that.
the city clerk's office and ask for.
Okay,
Joanne.
no, I'll do that.
Just put your hand over the Bible.
I can do that too.
I'm just kidding.
He
I
doesn't
know
know
you
that.
are.
So one thing, if anyone wants to do a site visit with anyone else, you can do that. Obviously, 4 people couldn't go because that would be a quorum. But as long as 1 or 2 or 3 people go out together, you just can't deliberate about whether you would support or not support something. You certainly can help each other to understand what is before us and to look at something. So if anyone ever wants to do that, feel free. I'd take anyone along. I kind of do mine on either Saturdays afternoons or Sunday afternoon or something. But if anyone feels maybe they're not quite getting or understanding, feel free to call one of the other members and tag along. I think it would be helpful. But that is allowed. And I just want to make it clear, just don't deliberate on the project. Anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
Not tonight.
All righty.
I'm just glad we didn't have to continue anything.
We're getting earlier. We got
Well,
another
we-
big agenda next time, but
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
Kimberly Mackey and John Rogers.
right. They never came on.
Okay.
So I guess we would have to push them. Let's push that out again. We'll need a motion for that.
So can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So he appealed. He's appealing the decision. So are we still hearing this matter?
Well, so he appealed. This is the one with not the up the hill. This is the one in the back, the Ferrara's back little deck and stairs there.
Yeah.
So they appealed the decision of the building inspector to issue a permit.
Oh, okay.
So the building inspector followed through and issued a cease and desist, instructed them to reduce what they had done back to what it was.
Right.
Be honest with you, after having gone out multiple times, I think they have cut it back to kind of where it was. I don't know at what point in the time of the world, but certainly much less than it had been when they raised the objection.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that he didn't, so now they're probably gonna issue a permit for what's left. And I guess they could appeal that again, but I'm not sure where it is, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I give her the benefit of coming before us one more time and hollering at me. So,
Yeah, let's not make her pay again unless she has.
Oh,
to.
God,
She
no.
would not be
No,
happy
we'll do
about that, boy.
No,
I'll
she
tell you
won't.
right now.
but why don't we say that we'll hear it in, not the 29th, because we're pretty packed, but I'd like to see a continuance to May 13th on her.
Okay.
We could get
So
a
make a
motion.
motion. Continue the application that I don't have in front of me,
The
Kimberly
appeal, yeah.
Mackey, 6 Mount Vernon Street, to the hearing on May, what?
13.
13th. Thank you. Thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to continue the appeal Roll call.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, but you know what? I don't know if I
Really?
should have just made that motion because I'm recused from this.
You're recused
I was
on
just
that.
gonna say, yeah.
Don't know, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm a jerk. Michael,
No.
take it away.
Michael will make a motion
So remind me of the motion again and I'll just mimic.
to
So that is,
continue the appeal on 6 Mount Vernon to May 13th.
make a motion that we continue the appeal of 6 Mount Vernon Street until May 13th.
I second that.
Made and seconded. Roll call. Adria's recused.
Thank you, Joe.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
Yes. And now I'll recognize Adria for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Here. Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. Pratt,
Yes, please.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, please.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Where's your please, Peter?
Please, por favor.
Mr.
Yes,
Gelati,
please. Yes, please.
Oh,
and Mr. Parisi.
I vote yes, we are adjourned.
excellent.
Have a good couple of weeks.
Have a good night, everyone. Good week.
9/11, not too bad.
Enjoy Patriots Day. I know I will.
Take care.
Now that's 9/11 and it's paid in Monday's Patriots Day.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Good night,
Have a
buddy.
good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you.